Hey, welcome back! Today I am sharing some of my best tips for summer skincare, especially now that we're into hot weather in a lot of places. It's actually a mere 69 here in Portland today and pretty overcast, but our peak heat doesn't usually come until a little bit later in the summer. I know other places have been really over 100 and just absolutely roasting. So anyhow, it's a good time to be talking about this and make sure that you have all of the tools available to really take the best care of your skin over the next couple of months. At least for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. I realize the rest of you, it's going to be relevant in about 6 months. So my first tip is about how I find personally one of the big sources of skin irritation I have is just from getting sweaty and warm and having any amount of friction. That combination of things tends to be more likely to cause irritation and rashes and increase the amount of bumps that I have and all of that kind of stuff. And so one of my favorite ways to keep that at bay, since, especially on humid days, I can't jump in the shower every 30 minutes. I like to make use of shower wipes. So these ones from Sea to Summit, their wilderness wipes, are a favorite that I have. I love to have these on hand if I'm going to be out hiking or on my bike or just out all day. It's really helpful to have one of these to take and just wipe myself down so that I can be comfortable until I get home and can really wash off. You can absolutely just use baby wipes instead, but I don't have children, so that would be an extra purchase anyhow, and these feel very sporty. The next thing I have is actually new for me this year, but I've been seeing them around a lot, and I specifically saw a recommendation that this can be really good for those of us with rosacea, where being warm and flushed tends to be a trigger. So you just stick it on and then push the button and a gentle breeze. This one has 3 settings and it gets a little bit louder as it's like this. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it, but at this point, this is plenty to keep me just so much more comfortable on a hot day. The only downside that I've noticed with this is that because of the angle of the air, it does tend to make my eyes feel a little drier. Not a total impediment for me, but if you have really dry eyes to begin with, it's something you might want to know about. And these come in a lot of different colors, price points, etc. You can just go do a search online for neck fan, and I'm sure you'll find something that would work for you if you're interested in trying this. This one is made by Jisoo Life. It has a motto on here, be yourself, be the best. My next suggestion related to all of that sort of sticky, sweaty, managing things is just to dial back the amount of skincare that you're putting on during the day. I know it can be really tempting, speaking from my own experience, to every time you have an opportunity to put as many of your active ingredients on and put as many layers of things that you know are really going to help your skin. But if you're just going to sweat it off anyhow, it doesn't really help that much. So I try to really simplify things if it's very humid, sticky, sweaty, etc., so that I'm putting the least amount of stuff on my skin to get the most effect. And depending on the weather for me, that might mean that it's just a tiny bit of moisturizer and my sunscreen, and then maybe a light serum and another light layer of moisturizer at night. I find that the more that I layer and layer and layer, the more likely it is that things are just going to start to feel sticky and soupy on my face, which isn't very comfortable. And I think, especially in the heat of summer, the best thing that you can really do is just to keep your skin clean and protected throughout the day and throughout those weeks. At least if you're in the sort of climate where that's true, you can bring things back in. Those of you who are in more like hot summer areas year-round, you'll have to tell me how you manage this. For the Pacific Northwest, we really just have a couple of months where it's a problem. Next, as part of my simplified summer skincare, I've been really enjoying this Tower 28 Daily Rescue Facial Spray. It's just a hypochlorous acid spray. There's one from Prequel also, and probably some other brands. It's a mix of hypochlorous acid and saline. And it has both a disinfecting ability as well as a skin soothing quality. And so I find that maybe if I'm just going to rinse my face and put sunscreen on top of whatever I had before, I spray it down with this, and that really helps. I find that if I'm just having a lot more inflammation, this has been really useful. And I also spray myself with this after I take my mask off. And given that COVID cases are rising again, I really encourage you to find a mask that fits you well so that you can wear it, even on days where it's a little bit uncomfortable. COVID has an ongoing impact on our health, and really we don't fully know the repercussions of the disease because it is so new to us. So for me, a really important aspect of looking out for my health is to be able to wear a mask, protect myself from COVID, and also take good care of my skin before and after. Next, I recommend that you get in the habit of checking the UV index before you go outside. This is a score 1 to 10 that just gives you an idea of how much exposure you're going to have to UV radiation when you're outdoors. For most people, you can actually skip the sunscreen when it's at 3 or below. Those of us with rosacea who are higher risk for skin issues, have any history or concerns about skin cancer, as well as just want to slow down the signs of aging, that year-round sunscreen, at least on your face, is a really good idea. But what it lets you do is see how to give yourself the most effective layers of protection. So if it's the middle of the day, UV's at 7, maybe you wait a couple hours to go outside, or maybe you make sure that you have your sunscreen, hat, sunglasses, and protective clothing on so that you can dial up and down the amount of protection that you're going to need. And I just find that that's a really handy tool so that I don't have to stress out about, getting too much sun if it's actually going to be pretty low risk. But I can time what I'm doing and make my plans around taking the best care of my skin. And once you know the UV index, you can pick a sunscreen option. My next recommendation is that you have a lot of sunscreen options available so that it is so that you are really most equipped to just put something on and go. You have something that's going to fit whatever circumstances you have or time or effect that you need it to have, so that it can be as simple as possible. Because really, simplicity is what's going to make it a durable habit. So some things that have been in rotation for me, I'm not going to talk about them in a lot of detail, but I, of course, have my favorite e.l.f. Whoa Glow, as well as In Beauty Mineral Sun Glow, and I've been testing this out. I'll have some thoughts to share about this eventually. I also have the Naturium Dew Glow Moisturizer that I'm trying to finish up. My trusty Sunbum Original 50 SPF with that lovely summer tropical scent. This is still what I put on most of my body if I'm going to be outside for a period of time. I have a little Sunbum SPF 30 sunscreen stick, and it's hard to put enough stick sunscreen on to get the full amount of rated SPF protection, but I do find this really helpful for touch-ups, especially in areas where I'm going to have to keep reapplying it because the sunscreen gets rubbed off or washed off. So for me, that tends to be here on my chest. If I wear a crossbody bag, which I usually do, then the strap is going to rub against it, so I'll need to keep reapplying sunscreen in that area. And then on the backs of my hands, because, throughout the day I might be washing and the sunscreen is just going to come off there faster. So it's a lot more convenient than carrying a whole tube of sunscreen around to just have a stick to keep reapplying as often as I can. And then the most recent thing I've been using is this Sunbum Face 50. If you saw my sunscreen speed reviews, you know that I wasn't really a fan of the SPF 70 version of this, but the 50 has a much better texture and consistency and dries down in the way that I was really looking for, and I have that underneath my makeup today. Another thing that's really useful to have in your sun protection kit is clothing. You probably already know that a nice wide-brimmed sun hat will help protect your head and face. You can also get UV visors that flip down and can cover your face. I don't personally own one of those, but maybe at some point I'll give it a try. And then you can also get a variety of clothing that has UV protection. And my favorite piece of that is the zip-up hoodie from Land's End. It's a little hard to get it all on screen here. It's kind of shapeless when I hold it up. But it's nice, it's lightweight. I call this my swim hoodie, and I think they do have it in the swimwear section. And I find this is my go-to thing if I'm going to be outdoors and in and out of the water, because lakes and rivers and the ocean here in the Pacific Northwest are cold. You generally, if you're going to do outdoor swimming, you can expect to be in freezy water and perhaps hot outside on the shore. You won't get in and swim in something that's bathtub comfortable in the slightest. So it's really good to have something that I can just leave on when I'm in the water and then maybe, unzip or take off when I get out, especially if I'm going to be in the shade. I'll quick try it on here, little fashion show. But I bought this on kind of a whim, and it's turned out to be like one of my favorite summer outdoor purchases. It even has pockets. So, if you're in the market for this kind of thing, I recommend this one. One more thing that can really affect how your skin's doing is, of course, hydration. I know you hear all the time about drinking enough water, and that thing about 8 glasses of water or, whatever set amount is a myth. There's no actual set amount that everybody needs during the day. You just need to make sure that you're drinking enough, that you are still peeing and your pee doesn't look weird, and, as long as you feel comfortable and you're not feeling dried out, thirsty, unusually tired, anything like that, you're probably doing fine. Just, have a water bottle of some sort handy so that it helps remind you to have more water during the day. And there's a safety thing that I also want to share because it doesn't actually get talked about very much, but those of us who have a little bit of medical training get trained to look out for it. And that's if you're drinking a ton of water, it's hot out, you're sweating, you also need food or electrolytes or something, you can get hyponatremia. Your body no longer has the amount of sodium in the blood necessary to keep things functioning okay. It's not the most common problem that people run into, but it does show up in, marathoners and people who are working outside in the heat, because you're sweating and drinking water and sweating and drinking water and not getting that sodium back in. Your body will just eventually exhaust itself of it. So if you are doing those sorts of things, make sure that you have some electrolytes that'll give you the sodium, or the kind of old school outdoorsy trick that I know is just to make sure that your trail mix or snack has something salty in it so that you're getting salt, from your nuts, pretzels, whatever, and that'll be plenty to do it too. Just don't take chances with that. It's pretty easy to make sure that you get a little bit of sodium so that you can safely drink as much water as you want to. On that topic, I just want to finish up with some overall heat safety tips because, as I know you're aware, the weather just keeps getting hotter. Global warming really is impacting us, and we see not just the changes in individual heat waves, but over the course of entire summers and entire years. We think a lot about how the daytime temperatures have gone up, and we have those higher highs. But part of what makes that so dangerous is that our nighttime low temperatures have also gotten higher. The body really needs the opportunity to cool down in order to stay healthy and function. And so when you are in very hot temperatures during the day and unusually warm temperatures at night, the body doesn't have a chance to recover like that. And that is part of why these bigger heat events have so many fatalities. It's not the individual daytime heat, although that is absolutely a factor, but it's that entire week where people just don't cool off again at night. This is one of the ways that things can be really risky for folks who live alone, don't have air conditioning, have limited mobility. It can be really easy to overlook the signs of danger when you're on your own, because a lot of the early symptoms of heat stroke are just being tired and disoriented and, feeling kind of muddled when it builds up over the course of these heat events. So make sure that you check on people in your life, family, and friends who might not be able to spot those signs themselves. And I'll say from experience, it is really easy to get in over your head with this and think that you're doing better than you are. It's not just about your awareness, it's the physiology. Your body just at a certain point can't really rationalize about it effectively. So check on people, make sure that the folks that you know can have access to some place to cool off at night, whether it's getting a one-room air conditioning unit or having some basement living space, or, all going to the movie theater together to take advantage of the AC there. Don't try to avoid situations where it's just hot night, hot daytime, etc., because those are the ones that are riskiest for your health. And the last thing that I'll say about that is that hot weather has an enormous impact on mental health, and that's something that is getting studied more and more as we deal with these heat events. So be kind to yourself, be kind to those around you. We're all just doing the best that we can, even on days where that's pretty rough. And so I hope that gives you a lot of ideas about how to stay healthy and safe and really enjoy yourself this summer, make the most of it. I think that is just about having enough tools in your toolbox and a good awareness of what kinds of things that you need to watch out for or take care of so that you can have a really good time. That's it for today, so take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye!